Good afternoon and welcome to World Afternoon. My name is Remy Allen. I will sincerely apologize for coming a little bit behind schedule. The flag bearer of the ruling of Progressive Congress APC in the November Ondo governorship election, Governor Lucky Orimisan Ayedatiwa, will today receive his certificate of return from the party. He was declared winner of the April 20 APC governorship shadow election by the Governor Usman Odudo-led 7-man primary election committee. The presentation of the certificate is slated for 4 p.m. after the weekly meeting of the National Working Committee, NWC, at the National Secretariat of the party in Abuja. APC Deputy National Organizing Secretary Nze Chididuru confirmed that the presentation will hold today. Ondo State Deputy Governor Olayide Adelami has expressed appreciation to APC members in our local voting for Governor Lucky Ayedatiwa during the party's primary. Dr. Adelami was on a thank you visit around the 11th ward in the area, so the people of our made him proud. Government House correspondent Zimo Ebene covered the event as a report is presented from our studio.
The thank you visit by the State Deputy Governor Dr. Olayide Adelami was to appreciate the people of our local government for their show of love during the APC primary election held on the 28th of April 2024. The tour took him around 11 wards in Owo as people came out in large numbers to receive the Deputy Governor. Addressing the people, Dr. Adelami thanked them for fulfilling their promise to support his boss.
And but particularly the reason for this procession is to come out in our numbers to thank the people of Owo for what they love and support for Ayedatiwa and for Adelami last Saturday. The support they showed, it was unprecedented, and there is no better way we can do it, because we are still expecting your support in November. There is no better way we can do it than to go around the whole of Owo and begin to thank the people of Owo.
Former Commissioner for Women Affairs and Social Development, Dr. Yemi Mahmood, the All Progressives Congress woman leader, Mrs. Olufunmilayo Ademulegun, and others said our people would always support visionary leader like Governor Ayedatiwa, who is committed to bringing about overall development of the state.
As you can see, we have traversed less than the breadth of Owo, basically to thank the people. The Deputy Governor of Ondo State today, by the grace of God, is from Owo, in person of Dr. Adelami. And since Adelami came on board, the dynamics of politics in Owo changed completely. It changed because of Adelami.
Trust our people. When Owo is with you, Owo will never be against you. Our promise that they are going to vote for Ayedatiwa, and they did it last Saturday, and they are going to do it on come November 2024. The outing of today is really overwhelming. Everybody came out despite the short notice.
For us, both young, old, women and adults in Owo, we recognize this virtue and we are translating this to public appreciation for what Governor Orimisan have done for Adelami, and that is why our people are standing shoulder to shoulder, tall by tall, church by church for Adelami.
They assured him of their readiness to do more at coming governorship election billed for November this year.
President Bola Tinubu has called for collaboration and inclusiveness towards addressing global challenges and ensuring sustainable solutions. Mr. Tinubu said during a high-level panel session at the World Economic Forum special meeting on global collaboration, growth and energy for development in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. The president said collaboration and inclusiveness, especially with regard to Africa, are elemental to building a future of hope, peace and progress for all. The president said the continent is richly endowed, but that the diversity of its resources must reflect in its wherewithal and economic realities. The president called on global leaders to pay attention to developments in the Sahel, emphasizing the need for a studied understanding of the vectors of the current situation. Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Senator Atiku Bagudu, has stressed the need to capture the yearnings and aspirations of senior citizens in the National Development Plan. Capacity Enhancement Workshop for State Commissioners and Directors of Social Welfare on the Domestication of National Senior Citizens Center and SCC Act and National Action Plan on Aging in Abuja. The minister assured stakeholders of the determination to work with NSCC to come up with accurate and accessible documents that will provide a guide to ensure proper capturing of senior citizens into the National Development Plan. President Bola Tinubu yesterday said Nigeria's tech environment is absorptive and ready for foreign investments. He said the local investment environment operates on the principle of a willing buyer and willing seller, which Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives Ben Kalu says the traditional institutions in Nigeria must be strengthened and protected from the influence of elected officials. Mr. Kalu stated this on Saturday during a visit to the palace of the Emir of Kano, Aminu Bayero. The Deputy Speaker, in a statement by his spokesperson, Levinos Unwabo Diogo, said he planned to engage with the traditional rulers in the constitutional amendment process and to incorporate the traditional The Nigerian Governors Forum has said discussions are advancing among the 36 state governors and strategic federal agencies in the oil and gas industry over the adoption of safer methods of transportation of petroleum products across the country. The forum's chairman, Abdurrahman Abdurazak, gave the hints at the Government House Port Harcourt, River State capital. Kenya authorities said to postpone the reopening of schools by 1 week due to ongoing heavy rains that have triggered deadly floods in the East African nation. Schools were originally scheduled to reopen today following midterm holidays, but the torrential monsoon downpours have affected many educational facilities, prompting the Education Ministry to delay the resumption of classes. Education Minister Ezekiel Macho 30 years of democracy in South Africa may have achieved political stability, but with high unemployment and deep inequality, not the better life for all promised in its constitution. Kemisola John has details.
South Africa's University of the Victoria, or VIT, has always been a politicized campus. It was a hotbed of students' protests during the struggle against apartheid. When Nelson Mandela became president in 1994, everything was moving smoothly. Everyone wondered what VIT students make of this moment. 30 years on from South Africa's first free and democratic election.
It was only recently when we got the democracy that we have and the freedom of everybody to vote the way we have.
I think it would be unreasonable to say there hasn't been progress. For one, we have political rights, we can vote, we have freedom of speech, we can criticize our government as much as we want.
I'm not going to come to you and say if you vote for this, if you remove the ANC from power, or if you do ABC, it's going to change overnight. No. South Africa is a mess. We're in a very deep hole. It's going to take a lot for us to take ourselves out of it. So it's very important to be hopeful but realistic at the same time. Democracy to South Africa was packaged nicely, put a ribbon on it, put Mandela on the face and threw it out there for black people. What we saw was an opportunity for change. We're still figuring out what works for us and what doesn't. So it becomes very hard to explain to a generation of people who were born frees, who were thrown into the system where we were told you have this right, you have that right, but not really told the responsibilities and not really being able to hold their leaders accountable.
The essence of a democracy is changing of leadership. So to see how healthy our democracy is, I think this year will be important in that sense.
I often say I'm the change I want to see, and that begins with me. One dilemma with young people is that we vote and think that's where it ends. You don't inform yourself, you don't educate yourself about the state of the economy, about where we are currently standing and how you can make that change and contribute to it. So I'm the change that I want to see is the power I hold in being a young person.
I just got to university this year. I'm a first year. I'm now able to vote. So I think for me, my role as a student is to get everybody else who also just came here interested in making a difference.
Kemisola John, Osrc News.
University students across the United States are in their second week of protest on college campuses, calling for a Gaza ceasefire and divestment from Israeli institutions, backing the actions in the besieged enclave. The City University of New York has become a center for student activism for peace in Gaza following Columbia University's leap. Omoshilola Desoya Jai has details.
Each day comes the reinforcements, more supplies and more demonstrators. The growing protest camp like this, students' protest encampments at City University of New York include Jewish Americans on both sides of the barricade. This man, who said he was an Israeli soldier who just served in Gaza, said he wanted to open a dialogue with protesters.
As an IDF soldier who fought in Gaza, to have the opportunity to have the conversations and let people know the side of the IDF that maybe they don't know, that we do want peace, that we do care about Palestinians, that we do care about Muslims.
When he tried to force his way into the encampment, demonstrators drove him out, with police escorting him away, they said, for agitating the crowds.
And to show that he is burning the passport.
Soon after, an Orthodox Jewish rabbi publicly burnt his Israeli passport in protest.
These courageous students who stand up for justice, who stand up for what is right, this should be a lesson for the world to stand up in face of this genocide taking place now in Gaza and this occupation already for decades.
These Jewish students say they are concealing their identities because they would face intense criticism from friends and family.
A lot of people are very comfortable using anti-Semitism as a cudgel to denounce movements that they find not very politically convenient.
As the encampments grow in number and size, they are also gaining a growing sense of permanence. Always, there is a constant threat of arrest. This woman has the number for volunteer lawyers on her arm.
I mean, a lot of people here are taking a lot of different kinds of risks. The risk of arrest, the risk of, expulsion or suspension, the case of students, the risk of losing jobs.
At Washington University in St. Louis Green Party, presidential candidate James Stein was swept up Saturday among more than 100 people arrested. At the University of California at Los Angeles, protesters opposing and supporting Israelis shouted and shoved each other on Sunday. With days or weeks left to go in the university term, these students say they will remain here until their demands are met. Omoshiliola Adesoye Ajayi, Osrc News.
Spanish Premier Pedro Sanchez has announced that he will not step down amid a corruption probe into his wife's affairs, averting the threat of political gridlock in Madrid. After meeting with King Felipe VI earlier today, the left-leaning Prime Minister, who had stepped away from his duties as a monk, strength. The 52-year-old Sanchez has surprised all when he said on Wednesday that he was taking time off to reflect on whether to resign, despite having insisted that a probe against his wife, Begoña Gómez, was organized by Spain's rival conservative political forces. The prospect of Sanchez's resignation last week had sparked some turmoil, with demonstrations organized both for and against him. The French Foreign Minister, Stéphane Séjourné, is in the Lebanon